Today I'm on the floor to talk about the men and women in uniform, our police officers who protect us every day. They're here in the Capitol today, protecting us in this chamber. They're back home in Ohio, protecting the citizens of Ohio, and they do it every day. They put their lives on the line for us in many cases. This is National Police Week. It's a week when tens of thousands of law enforcement officers come to Washington, D.C. They come to the police memorial. It's been a wonderful week because I've had the opportunity to meet with law enforcement officers from Ohio today, yesterday, the day before. We've seen them on the streets. We've seen them in uniform. Their opportunity to come here is to talk about the important issues that relate to our law enforcement, but also to pay tribute to their fallen colleagues. Sadly, Ohio has lost its share of officers recently. Officers who've lost their lives in the line of duty include 2 so far this year and 4 last year. On February 2nd, Claremont County Detective Bill Brewer was shot and killed after responding to a call from a suicidal man who was armed at an apartment complex just east of Cincinnati in Claremont County. Detective Brewer had served with the Claremont County Sheriff's Department for 20 years, widely respected. The funeral was amazing. There were an overwhelming number of people, grateful citizens who showed up, and law enforcement from our entire region, in fact, law enforcement even from other states. At his service, I had the honor of presenting his widow and his young son with a flag that was flown over this United States Capitol in honor of him and in gratitude to his family. On that day, County Sheriff Steve Leahy said of Detective Brewer, quote, "He was an outstanding man. He was a good father, a good husband, a good friend, a good employee. He's what this country needs more of." I agree with Sheriff Leahy. On January 4, Colerain Township police officer Dale Woods was hit by a vehicle while working at the scene of an automobile accident, and he passed away 3 days later as a result of his injuries. Police Chief Mark Denny remembered Woods as a hero who once saved a baby inside a hot car and who also ran into a burning building to save a blind woman. That's the type of selfless and courageous officer he was, and he represented the best. Last July, Cleveland police officer Vu Nagon, a 25-year veteran of the department, collapsed while taking part in police training exercises. Vu was known as a people person, someone who cared a lot for his fellow citizens and always went the extra mile to help anyone who asked. His family said that's the reason he became a police officer, because he wanted a job where he could help people. That's what police officers do. In June of last year, Mentor police officer Matthew Mazzani was struck and killed by a hit-and-run driver while assisting another officer during a traffic stop. Officer Mazzani had served with the Mentor Police Department for 14 years. He was beloved by his fellow officers, by his family and friends, and by his entire community. This morning, I had the opportunity to visit the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial here in Washington, D.C., and I was able to see the inscribed names on the wall there of thousands of law enforcement officers we've lost over the years. If you haven't been down there, it's a powerful experience. But there were also beautiful memorials set up around those walls with wreaths, flowers, photographs, magazine articles, newspaper articles, other information about officers who we lost in the last year, including these 2 officers from Westerville, Ohio, who were tragically murdered last year while serving their community and all of us. On February 10th, 2018, Westerville police officers Anthony Morelli and Eric Joring were shot while responding to a 911 call. Sadly, it was fatal. They had rushed to the scene. They had arrived to help. They were under fire. Officer Joring was actually killed at the scene. Officer Morelli died in surgery later that day. I've had the great honor of meeting the families of both of these fallen officers. Amazing women and amazing kids. Linda Morelli and Jamie Joring are incredibly strong women and incredibly strong mothers. I was able to express the condolences and the gratitude from all Ohioans for their husband's service. The memorials I saw today were a moving tribute to those 2 police officers, 2 fallen officers who had served their fellow Ohioans with honor. Soon their names will be inscribed on that police wall I talked about at the memorial. Their names will be inscribed there for the ages, for all of us to see, and so that we can all remember the ultimate sacrifice that they and other officers have made for us. We continue to hold up their families, the families of the fallen. We continue to hold them in our prayers and to show our support and express our enduring gratitude. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield back.